So I wasn't really planning on telling this story this year, but as we just passed the 15-year anniversary of 9/11, I've decided I will. And I wasn't gonna tell it because I didn't want to make a vlog about a super sad story or, you know, something that was that impactful on us. I tried to keep the Sunday vlog super positive and super fun to watch. Although you guys got the Sunday vlog on, like, I don't know, Tuesday or something. But this being the Wednesday vlog, the second to last installment of Vlogapalooza, I decided I was gonna tell this story because this is not a story I've ever told you guys. It's not a story I've ever told any fans. It's not a story I've told many people. It's about where I was when 9/11 happened. Most of you know, if not all of you, know that I was born in New York. I'm a New Yorker, and I don't know if you could hear the cold I have, but this is what I meant a few vlogs ago when I said that my body just like shut down after the drive back from New York, which is weird for me because I don't get sick very often. So I have a bit of a husky, sexy voice for you guys today. Anyway, so as I was saying, I was born and raised in New York. When 9/11 happened, I was in 6th grade, and in science class, we were studying the sandy shore. Because I'm not sure if you know, but on Long Island, there's this weird thing where the northern beaches are rocky beaches and the southern beaches are sandy beaches, and it's because it's about like how the glacier melted, like the Ice Age thing, and the melting of the glacier and how it dropped off stuff, and I don't know. Obviously I paid attention. Anyway, so we were studying the sandy shore, and on that day we actually had a field trip. We were going to the sandy shore to do like a science field trip to study the beaches and collect samples and stuff that we could later use in class. And it was a field trip that we actually were really excited for. It's something that we talked about for a long time. Back then, school started, I think, at like 9 o'clock or 8:30. I think it was 8:30, which was like right before or right when the first plane hit. We were all in class. We had no idea what had happened. And 2 students had shown up late for school that day, and they knew what happened. So they walked in, I think independently this happened. I think one was in one class, and there's two 6th grade classes in the school I was in, like 2 main classes that you're divided into. And so I think it was like one from each class. So the kid that was late for our class, I'll never forget this, his name is Nick. And he walked in and he said, "Guess what happened this morning?" And the teacher ran right over to him to make him stop, to stop him from saying anything, because she knew what happened, obviously, because there was I'm sure there was some kind of phone call made or something. She told him, I guess, to just say nothing. And we just went throughout like the next few hours like nothing had happened. So as soon as everybody was in class, we got our stuff and we went down to the buses for the field trip. On the way to the field trip, Nick's saying nothing to anybody about it. Nobody really knew it was like there was a thing that, there weren't cell phones, so like no one was getting phone calls from their parents. We got to the area, like the beach thing, which I'm sure it's some kind of like facility that schools go to for this kind of thing. But we got there and they wouldn't let us off the bus. And we were sitting there for a long time. Nobody knew why. Well, none of the students knew why. And all the teachers were kind of off and on the bus in groups talking to the people that ran that area of the beach, the facility there that's on the beach and all that stuff. Nobody would tell us what was going on. So at some point, I think it must have been an hour or so after that, the teachers just got right on the bus and said, "Field trip's canceled. We're going back to the school. We'll explain when we get there." We just said, "Okay." We're a bunch of 6th graders, so we didn't care. We're just wasting time. For us, it was a day off of school, basically. So when we got back to our homeroom, see, there's the 2 homeroom classes. For some reason, a few kids were pulled out of class. Like I think in my class there was 3 kids that were pulled out of class, and I would later find out that's because their parents worked in the Trade Center. So then, once like the kids were pulled out of class, we were put into we all sat in a circle on the floor, and the teacher and the principal and one of the counselors told us what happened, and would just talk to us about what it meant, and kind of answering any questions we had. And they had already called our parents, so our parents were on the way to get us. And I remember not really knowing how to feel about like any of this. And I was in 6th grade. I couldn't understand the impact that this would have on the world. let alone me, let alone my life, you know? And it all seems so surreal because like the stuff you'd see on TV at that time to a kid my age looked like a movie. It looked like special effects, you know? Not that I didn't know it was real, it was just hard to comprehend. So I remember I got home, my mom came to get me, I got home and my dad was already home. And my dad worked in Brooklyn at a hospital. He's a psychologist. He bolted work as soon as that happened. Not that he was in any danger as far as like the vicinity. He wasn't close to, you know, necessarily close. He was home when I got home. Actually, everybody was home when I got home. And my mom went upstairs. I just went to my room because, you know, I didn't really understand the whole thing. So I remember my dad and mom immediately called me into their room because they were watching it. They had it on the TV and they said, sit here and watch this. And I said, why? Not that I didn't want to watch it, but again, I really couldn't understand how much of how big of a deal this was, you know? And they said to me, this is history. You have to watch this because this is the most important thing right now. And watching this, you will forever remember where you were and who you were with when this happened on the planet. And it was interesting because although it was a horrible thing, which it absolutely, obviously it was, you know, I think that was a good move on their part. Like other people would say, you know, he's just a kid, don't make him watch that stuff. But I appreciate the fact that they did that because they're right. It was history in the making. Bad history, but history in the making. I'll always remember where I was and who I was with when that happened. And I'll always remember the feeling I got. Like I started to like as I watched it, I started to slowly realize what it was and what it meant as much as I could understand at that age, you know? I don't think any of us fully knew what it meant and what it would cause as far as like global relations are concerned. But yeah, and it was kind of, it was weird because Manhasset, and there's a great article, and I'll link it down below, and I encourage you to read it. It's amazing. It's about Manhasset, the town, like my hometown where I grew up. We're so close to the city, and we're in a situation where a lot of people, but a lot of parents worked downtown in the city, in the financial district. So there was this odd thing that happened in Manhasset where, yes, everyone was affected by this. Like everyone, not just the US, everyone all over the world was affected by this, but specifically New Yorkers, but specifically Manhasset because of the amount of parents that worked in the financial district and the concentration of those parents in Manhasset was staggering. And nobody really knew until this happened, like just how concentrated it was. It's just it happens to be a town like that, you know. There was this really eerie thing that happened where it happened days after 9/11 happened. People started to notice the cars that were at the train station that weren't moving, the cars that were there overnight, and nobody was coming to get them. And it's because those cars belonged to people that weren't coming home. And it's so again, I encourage you, read the article in the description. It's a really well-written article. And it was weird to be a part of all that, especially at that age, you know, because it was kind of, you were forced to understand it. Because again, I don't think anyone at that age, but especially me, I could not fully grasp what it meant. That's why every year the memorial that happens in Manhasset for it is pretty intense. People read names of people they lost, and that was my experience. I'm not trying to say that my experience was like, it was harder than anyone else's. It's just, it was different. And I've never told that story to you guys, so I figured it would be a good story to tell. So I encourage you on days like that, days like the anniversary of 9/11 or anything like that, to just stop and reflect on who you are, who you were when it happened, where you were in your life, where you are now, and just to get some perspective, I guess. So anyway, I love you guys. Vlogapalooza continues. I hope you enjoyed the story time, and I will see you in a few hours with the next vlog. We're almost done with Vlogapalooza, but not quite yet. But soon, so.